back with Will Keys in Brisbane, and we're following up on a previous discussion. One of the reasons being the appearance of some new information from cabinet meetings that is now in the public domain from the British government in September 78.
Okay, thanks, Hannes. These are the British cabinet minutes under the Prime Minister Callaghan, and it's David Owen talking in these minutes. And basically, I've got them in front of me, and he says that they got approaches from the National Joint Operational Command, privately assessing the British government's attitude is that if in the event that they executed a coup d'etat in Rhodesia and got rid of Smith. And the way the conversation is discussed in the British cabinet is absolutely clear, is that they have total influence and the power to be able to dictate things. Now, to who? The only person I can think of that is of that level would have been Ken Flowers, who is ex-BSAP, ex-Deputy Commissioner, who ran the Central Intelligence Organization. But I don't know, but 2 and 2 makes 4, and these are speculations which are really reasonable to make. So in the cabinet meetings, they discuss this and they say, no, we've told the JOC commanders that a coup d'etat is not in. We're not interested. Don't you dare do that. They actually say in another part of the discussion that the world is to be told that that we are the colonial authority. Only through us can any authority in Rhodesia be given. But they say privately, but under no circumstances do we found ourselves in the seat where we are exercising that authority. Well, when I read that, I realized that the poor white Rhodesians, who had been the stars of the British Empire, who had paid for their land, unlike a lot of what happened in Australia and America, where they arrived and just assumed those rights, we paid for our rights. And we didn't know we were finding ourselves to be the pariahs of the world. We didn't know that we were doing that. We thought we had done the right thing. So that it's clear from the British attitude, that European, US attitude looking at Africa, that we were being completely and utterly thrown to the wolves. We didn't know that was happening to us. If we had known about it, if we could have figured it out, we would have been, probably would have been forced to negotiate soon, because we realized that no matter what we did, we were going to lose. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, look, what I find fascinating is they're the Brits demanding that Smith surrender power back to them, but quietly telling whoever their man at ComOps is that they actually don't want this particular problem. So,
absolutely true. Absolutely true. What you just said is absolutely true.
It really boggles the mind at the level of their machinations and just where that, and it gives you some idea of what Ian Smith was up against with these people. I mean, how, and he kept saying, I don't, well, he said that the primary motivation from people like Owen was to punish white Rhodesians, basically because for their impertinence, which is how they saw it, the fact that we'd refused to succumb to their demands. They were outraged, and that was certainly a motivating factor with Carrington as well. He had no interest in really finding a decent solution. He was out to settle an old score, and he virtually admits it in some of the interviews. But it is again disappointing to hear that there was that level of communication at a critical time. And, one wonders what else was actually going on. It's fascinating. This is over 40 years ago. And I've followed this history quite carefully, and there's still stuff coming out the woodwork that takes me by surprise. So, but it just reminds me too of of what Ron Reed Daley was up against, and he got vilified by a lot of people. But his frustrations were exactly as you identified. He wasn't getting any decent information from military intelligence or from police intelligence, special branch, or the CIO. His first big ops with the CIO were disastrous because it was either bum information or it was deliberately wrong information. And that's why Ron realized very early on, only way he's going to get anywhere is by gathering his own intelligence, much as what you tumbled to. And that's what he was doing. And that's what he did so successfully. And that was ultimately the reason why they had to bring him down, because he was a law unto himself. He didn't need these blokes in special branch or the CIO who were pulling all the strings. He was doing his own thing.
Well, could I just remind people, Hannes, if you don't mind, and I want to remind people that, like, I call them perfidious Albion because the Romans referred to the British as perfidious Albion because they couldn't trust them in negotiations. And so I refer to the British government of that time as perfidious Albion. Do you remember the history that you and I looked into, the legal case? Do you know that they encouraged through a royal charter for everybody to go up to the Central Africa to found Rhodesia? Having found Rhodesia, they then negotiated and themselves acquired the land. We're talking about the British now. We're talking about British. We're not talking about any Rhodesians have done it. They did it and acquired the land. And they got it from the Matabele and from the Shonas. They just took it. And then they sold that land to their citizenry, your relatives and mine. And then when it didn't suit them anymore to run under the British South Africa company, they then acquired that, paid the company off, and then forced us settlers to pay for the costs again. And then after 40 years, when now we discover all riches and turn the country into a bread bowl, we've bought it and running the country, independent by ourselves. And the world changes. They just turn on us. And then the case is made that the white Rhodesians are out of step, that we've done the wrong thing. I mean, where do they get off saying that? After 40 years, when you look at it, it's an outrage. It's a total outrage. Tell me something. In these documents, in the British documents, they talk about this fund that they were putting together in the British cabinet, $1.something billion fund. Now, this was to buy land and that. But, of course, the Americans and other people objected and said, well, listen, we don't want that fund to go to any whites to buy white land. That's what they say in the documents. And they said, well, so, they've got to finesse that thing. Yeah. So us poor Rhodesians were on a hiding to nothing. We just didn't know it. Morality was on our side. Decency was on our side. Legality was on our side. Oh, no. Justification was on our side. But what wasn't on our side was might.
Yeah, and world opinion. Events just overtook us. It was like a tidal wave of events that had changed. And there we were, just caught in the wrong place at the wrong time.
That's true, Hannes. And I'm a little bit annoyed at a lot of some younger Rhodesians who are in Zimbabwe who now find it very convenient to take exception to the fact that we refer to the British as perfidious Albion. They write to me and tell me that they don't agree with that. They don't agree with it. They didn't live through that time. And all those people that I can hear that criticize the Rhodesians and those, I don't know how much they were really involved in that Bush war. Some of us stuck our necks out. Some of us did that. And, we know just how perfidious they were now. And you and I know, we've only recently did the legal case together. So you and I now know how legally perfidious they were. And it simply backs up our story. And now we've got the British cabinet papers come out and we look at it and we say, well, we were done from the beginning.
Well, on that low note, Will, thanks for your time again. You certainly thrown a lot of light on some darker issues in our past. And I think this is of great interest.
I've never told anybody these things before, Hannes. But, you know, you talked me into it in a way. You said that these things, if we don't tell them now, it'll never come out. And I'm of an age now that I'll get it off my chest, and it's been off my chest for a while. I've made a success of my life, but I feel sorry for a lot of Rhodesians who weren't as lucky as I was.
Mm.
Thanks, Hannes.
Thank you. Thank you, Will. Appreciate your time.